Commander Veltar floated in the zero-gravity chamber of Observatory Station 7, his six-fingered hands moving across the holographic controls with practiced ease. The station hung invisible in the darkness between Mars and Jupiter, its advanced, cloaking technology making it completely undetectable to the primitive scanning devices of the third planet. For over 200 years, he and his fellow watchers had been documenting every aspect of human civilization. Another fascinating day of human behavior, Veltar murmured to himself as he reviewed the surveillance data. His large, dark eyes studied the feeds showing humans in their natural habitat. Cities bustling with activity, vehicles moving along, predetermined paths, and those curious flying machines they called airplanes crossing their skies. The humans seemed so proud of their simple achievements, not knowing that his people had mastered interstellar travel when human ancestors were still living in caves. The quantum scanner beeped softly, indicating another routine scan of human technology was complete. Chemical rockets, basic satellites, primitive nuclear power. Exactly what the Confederation expected from a species that had barely learned to leave their own atmosphere. Veltar made his daily notes with the same clinical detachment his predecessors had shown for decades. The humans were progressing, but slowly. Far too slowly to pose any concern to galactic security. Deep beneath the mountains of South Korea, Dr. Kim Tae-ho walked through corridors that existed in no official records. The facility stretched for kilometers in every direction, carved from solid rock and shielded by technology that made it invisible to any form of detection. His footsteps echoed softly as he passed laboratories where scientists worked on projects that would change the course of human history. The Mirror Protocol had been active for 50 years, ever since the first alien surveillance probe had been detected by a young physicist named Dr. Lee. That discovery had led to the creation of the most ambitious deception in human history. While the world above continued its normal pace of development, the greatest minds of humanity worked in secret to unlock the mysteries of alien technology. "Good morning, Dr. Park," Tae-ho said as he entered the central observation chamber. The room was filled with screens showing data streams, star charts, and most importantly, the surveillance feeds from the alien watchers themselves. Dr. Park Soo-jin looked up from her workstation, her fingers still dancing across the keyboard, as she analyzed the latest intercepts. She was one of the few people on Earth who knew the true extent of human capabilities. "The Watchers are maintaining their usual schedule," she reported. "Commander Veltar filed his weekly report yesterday. According to their assessment, we're still decades away from achieving faster-than-light travel." Tae-ho smiled grimly. If only they knew that human ships had been traveling between stars for the past 5 years, using routes carefully chosen to avoid alien detection. The Watchers saw only what humanity wanted them to see, a species struggling with basic space technology while secretly mastering sciences that would astound their observers. "What about our surface operations?" Tae-ho asked, settling into his chair before the main display. "Perfect synchronization," Park replied. "Every rocket launch, every satellite deployment, every public announcement about space exploration matches exactly what the aliens expect to see. Our surface teams are maintaining the illusion flawlessly. Above ground, the world went about its business, unaware that their every move was being watched by alien eyes. But in the depths of the Earth, human scientists had turned that surveillance into an advantage. They had learned to speak the aliens' language to understand their technology and, most importantly, to predict their behavior. Commander Veltar completed his daily observations and transmitted his report to the Confederation Central Command. Another routine day, monitoring the humans, another confirmation that they remained safely contained on their single world. The species showed promise. Perhaps in another century they might be ready for limited contact, but for now they were simply an interesting subject for study. He had no idea that every signal he transmitted was being intercepted, decoded, and analyzed by the very species he was watching. The humans had become expert at reading alien technology, learning their weaknesses, studying their methods. While Veltar believed he was the hunter observing his prey, the truth was far different. Dr. Park pulled up a 3-dimensional map showing the locations of all 43 alien observation posts scattered throughout the solar system. Each one had been identified, studied, and secretly monitored by human agents. "They're so confident in their technology," she said to Taeho. "They never considered that a primitive species might be capable of detecting them." "Overconfidence," Taeho replied. "It's a weakness we can exploit when the time comes." The time was coming sooner than either of them knew. Reports from the outer edges of the galaxy spoke of a new threat, something that had the mighty Galactic Confederation worried. Soon, the Watchers would need to become the Watched, and humanity would step out of the shadows to reveal the true extent of their capabilities. For now, the game of deception continued. The aliens watched, believing themselves unseen, while humans prepared for the day when the roles would finally be reversed. Director Lee Min-woo stood in the command center buried 5 kilometers beneath the surface of the Pacific Ocean. The massive chamber stretched out before him, filled with holographic displays that showed the true scope of human civilization. What he saw would have shocked any alien observer who believed they were watching a primitive species struggle with basic technology. The 3-dimensional map floating in the center of the room revealed humanity's greatest secret. Hundreds of facilities dotted the globe, connected by transportation tunnels that moved faster than sound. Space stations disguised as asteroids orbited in the outer solar system. Manufacturing plants on the dark side of the moon produced ships that could travel between stars. Everything was hidden, everything was secret, and everything was far beyond what the Watchers believed possible. "Sir, the morning briefing is ready," announced his aide, Captain Kim Jae-won, as he approached with a datapad in his hand. Min-woo nodded and gestured toward the conference table where his senior staff was already gathering. These were the people who managed humanity's most ambitious deception, a lie so complex and well-crafted that an entire galactic civilization believed it completely. Colonel Yoon Da-hee was the first to speak as she took her seat. She commanded the Shadow Fleet, humanity's secret space armada that operated entirely outside the detection range of alien surveillance. Her ships looked like mining equipment or research vessels to any casual observer, but they carried weapons that could destroy planets. "Director, I need to know how much longer we can keep this up," Da-hee said, her voice tight with concern. "My pilots are getting restless. We have 47 combat vessels hidden throughout the system and they're all ready for action, but maintaining the disguise is becoming more difficult each day." Min-woo understood her concern. The Shadow Fleet had been operating in complete secrecy for 15 years, with crews who had never seen Earth except through encrypted video messages. They lived their entire lives in fake mining stations and research outposts, always ready to fight but never able to reveal their true purpose. "We maintain the charade for as long as necessary," Min-woo replied firmly. "Dr. Choi, what's the status of our deception protocols?" Dr. Choi Hyun-soo looked up from his portable computer, his fingers still typing as he spoke. He was the genius behind humanity's quantum masking technology, the system that made their advanced civilization invisible to alien sensors. "The deception is holding perfectly, Director. Every electromagnetic signal we emit, every energy signature our facilities produce, everything appears exactly as we want it to appear." Choi pulled up a display showing the data streams that flowed constantly to the alien observation posts. To any outside observer, the signals looked like the natural development of a species slowly advancing through different technological stages. "Yesterday we fed them information suggesting that our fusion research is progressing slowly. They believe we're still years away from achieving practical fusion power." The truth was far different. Humanity's fusion reactors had been operational for over a decade, and their efficiency levels were 30% higher than anything the Galactic Confederation had ever achieved. But the aliens would never know this because every scan they performed was carefully manipulated by human technology. "What about our space program?" asked General Park Dong-hyuk, who coordinated the surface operations that maintained the illusion of human primitiveness. "Perfect synchronization," Choi replied with satisfaction. "Every rocket launch is designed to look like we're struggling with basic chemical propulsion. Every satellite we deploy appears to be simple communications or weather monitoring equipment. Meanwhile, our real fleet operates completely outside their detection range." The general smiled, His job was perhaps the most challenging of all, managing the public face of human space exploration, while hiding the fact that human ships were already traveling to distant stars. Every press conference, every news report, every scientific announcement had to be carefully scripted to maintain the deception. Colonel Yoon pulled up her own display showing the locations of human vessels throughout the solar system. We have mining ships operating in the asteroid belt that are actually mobile battle platforms, research stations on the moons of Jupiter that are really forward military bases. Even our lunar colonies appear to be small scientific outposts, while they're actually manufacturing centers for our most advanced technology. The scope of the deception was staggering. Millions of people were involved in maintaining the illusion, from the scientists who published fake research papers to the engineers who built equipment designed to look primitive while performing far beyond alien expectations. Dr. Choi brought up another screen showing intercepted alien communications. Their latest reports continue to describe us as a species making slow but steady progress. They estimate we'll achieve interstellar travel in approximately 50 years. 50 years, Minwoo repeated with a quiet laugh. If they only knew that. Captain Lee's exploration fleet returned from the Centauri system last week. The room fell silent as everyone contemplated the magnitude of their secret. Humanity hadn't just achieved interstellar travel, they had surpassed their watchers in almost every technological field. But the aliens continued filing their reports, completely unaware that the species they were studying had already become more advanced than their own civilization. "How long do we wait?" asked Colonel Yoon again. Minwoo looked at the holographic display showing Earth's true capabilities. "Until they need us more than we need them. The galaxy is about to face a threat that will test everyone's limits. When the time comes, humanity will step out of the shadows and show the universe what we're really capable of." Supreme Admiral Thexlaren had commanded the Galactic Confederation fleet for over 300 cycles, but never had he faced a threat like this. The command deck of his flagship buzzed with frantic activity as reports arrived from the outer rim territories. Each message brought worse news than the last. "Admiral, we've lost contact with the Zarian system," announced Lieutenant Kexri, her forearms working frantically at the communication console. That makes 12 star systems completely consumed in just one cycle. Thexlaren's scaled skin darkened with worry as he paced between the holographic displays showing the advancing threat. The Devourers were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Mechanical swarms that consumed entire worlds, breaking down matter at the atomic level to build more of themselves. They learned from every encounter, adapted to every weapon, and grew stronger with each victory. "What's the status of our evacuation efforts?" he demanded, his voice echoing through the vast command chamber. Captain Morthek stepped forward, his crystalline body reflecting the emergency lighting. "Evacuation fleets are working around the clock, Admiral. We've managed to relocate populations from 47 worlds, but the projections are grim. At their current rate of expansion, the Devourers will reach our core systems within 8 cycles. 8 cycles. Less than 2 standard years before the mechanical plague reached the heart of galactic civilization." Thexlaren had run the calculations himself, hoping his staff had made an error. They hadn't. "We need more ships, more soldiers, more everything," the Admiral said, stopping his pacing to stare at the tactical display. "What about the monitoring programs? Are there any species we could conscript?" The question hung in the air for a moment, before Captain Morthek consulted his datapad. "The humans from Earth show promise. They're aggressive, they multiply quickly, and they've shown remarkable adaptability. Our observers report they're just beginning to develop fusion technology." "Perfect," Thexlaren said with grim satisfaction. "A primitive species desperate to prove themselves worthy of galactic membership. They'll be grateful for the opportunity to serve." Millions of light years away, Dr. Kang So-young sat in the communications center beneath the mountains of Tibet. Her headphones pressed tight against her ears as she listened to the intercepted alien transmission. The quantum decryption software worked in real time, translating the alien languages into perfect Korean as fast as the words were spoken. What she heard made her blood run cold. "They want to use us as cannon fodder," she whispered to herself. then immediately activated the emergency communication protocol that would reach every hidden facility on Earth within minutes. The holographic projector in the center of the room activated, showing the faces of humanity's secret leaders gathered from around the globe. Director Lee Min-woo appeared from his Pacific Command Center, General Nam Jun-ho connected from his facility beneath the Sahara Desert, and Dr. Park Soo-jin linked in from the South Korean mountains. "Report," Min-woo said immediately, his face tense with concern. "The aliens are facing a crisis," So Young began, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "Something called the Devourers is consuming star systems on the outer rim of the galaxy. 12 systems destroyed in what they call one cycle. They're running out of time and options." General Nam leaned forward in his chair. "And they're considering us? They want to conscript humanity as soldiers," So Young confirmed. "They believe we're primitive enough to be grateful for the opportunity to serve in their military. They think we'll jump at the chance to prove ourselves worthy of joining their galactic civilization." The silence that followed was broken by General Nam's quiet laughter. "Cannon fodder," he said, shaking his head. "After 50 years of watching us, studying us, cataloging our every move, they still see us as nothing more than expendable primitives." Dr. Park spoke up from her facility. "Our intelligence suggests they'll make first contact within the next few days. They're preparing a fleet to approach Earth openly for the first time." Director Min-woo stood up, his decision already made. "Then it's time to show them who they're really dealing with. Activate Protocol Thunder. All Shadow Fleet vessels are to prepare for full revelation. All hidden facilities are to power up to maximum operational status." The order that had been prepared for 50 years finally went out across Earth's secret network. In asteroid mining facilities that were actually military bases, crews received their activation codes. On the dark side of the moon, manufacturing plants began producing ships at maximum capacity. Deep beneath Earth's oceans, weapons systems that had never been tested came online for the first time. Captain Yoon Da-hee received the message aboard her flagship, disguised as a simple research vessel studying Jupiter's moons. "All Shadow Fleet commanders," she announced over the encrypted channel. "This is not a drill. Begin revelation protocols immediately." Throughout the solar system, 47 vessels that had appeared to be peaceful civilian craft began transforming. Fake hull plating fell away to reveal weapons that could crack planets. Mining equipment retracted to expose engines capable of faster-than-light travel. Research arrays folded back to uncover sensor systems more advanced than anything in the Galactic Confederation's arsenal. General Nam smiled as he watched the activation reports flooding in from around the globe. "They want to conscript primitive humans as cannon fodder," he said to his staff. "Instead, they're about to discover that the primitives they've been watching have become the most advanced military force in the galaxy. The greatest deception in human history was about to end, and the galaxy would never be the same." Admiral Zixthera stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Eternal Wisdom, as her fleet approached the small blue world that had been under observation for over 2 centuries. She felt confident and slightly amused by the mission ahead. Making first contact with primitive species was always interesting, especially when those species would soon be serving in the Confederation military. "Admiral, we're detecting the usual primitive electromagnetic emissions from the planet," reported her sensor officer, Commander Plexton. "Chemical rockets, basic satellites, simple communication networks. Exactly what we expected from the surveillance reports." Zixthera nodded with satisfaction. The humans would be so amazed by their advanced technology that they would eagerly agree to serve as soldiers against the Devourer threat. It was almost too easy. "Maintain standard approach vector. Prepare the translation devices and the recruitment protocols." Her fleet consisted of 12 vessels, each one a marvel of Confederation engineering. The ships could travel between stars. In days, their weapons could destroy cities and their shields could deflect any primitive attack. Against humans with their chemical rockets and basic satellites, they might as well have been gods descending from heaven. "Sir, I'm detecting some unusual energy readings," Commander Plexton said, his voice suddenly uncertain. "Multiple signatures, appearing throughout the system, but they're not matching any known human technology." Before Admiral Zixithera could respond, space around her fleet began to shimmer and bend. Massive shapes materialized from what had seemed like empty void, revealing themselves as they dropped their cloaking fields. Ships appeared from behind asteroids, from the shadows of planets, from locations where her sensors had detected nothing but empty space. Captain Han Seung-ho stood on the bridge of the Thunder's Edge, watching as his ship's quantum cloak disengaged, for the first time in 5 years. Around him, 46 other vessels of the Shadow Fleet were doing the same, revealing humanity's secret armada to the shocked alien visitors. "Sir, we have clean targeting solutions on all alien vessels," reported his tactical officer, Lieutenant Park Min-jun. "Their ships are exactly as our intelligence predicted. Hull composition, shield frequencies, weapon configurations, everything matches our captured data perfectly." Han smiled as he looked at the alien fleet now surrounded by human vessels. The Thunder's Edge was 3 times larger than the alien flagship and packed with technology that would revolutionize galactic warfare. His ship alone could have defeated the entire alien fleet, but that wasn't the point of this demonstration. "Open a channel to the alien fleet, all frequencies," Han ordered. "Let's introduce ourselves properly." Admiral Zixithera stared at her, tactical display in complete shock. Where moments before she had seen a primitive solar system with basic satellites and space debris, she now saw dozens of vessels that shouldn't exist. The energy signatures her sensors were reading exceeded anything in the Confederation database. "How is this possible?" she whispered, her scaled hands gripping the command rail so tightly that her knuckles turned white. "Sir, incoming transmission from one of the human vessels," her communication officer announced, his voice shaking with disbelief. "Put it through," Zixithera ordered, though she already knew this first contact mission had gone terribly wrong. The main screen activated, showing the face of a human male wearing what appeared to be a military uniform. His expression was calm and professional, but his eyes held a dangerous intelligence that made the Admiral's skin crawl. "Alien Fleet, this is Captain Han Seung-ho of the Earth Defense Force," the human said in perfect Confederation standard, a language that primitive humans shouldn't even know existed. "You are completely surrounded by vessels of the First Revelation Fleet. Before we continue, I want you to understand something very important." Han paused, letting his words sink in before continuing. "We have been monitoring your surveillance operations for 50 years. We know the location of every observation post in this system. We have intercepted and decoded every report you've sent to your superiors. We know your technology, your tactics, your capabilities, and most importantly, your weaknesses." The alien bridge fell silent as the implications of the humans' words became clear. They had been watching the Watchers, learning from their observers, studying their students. "We know about the Devourers," Han continued, his voice taking on a harder edge. "We know about your evacuation efforts, your military preparations, and your desperate search for cannon fodder to throw at the mechanical swarms. We even know about your plan to conscript humanity as expendable soldiers." Admiral Zixithera felt her world shifting around her as she realized the scope of human deception. For centuries, the Confederation had believed they were observing a primitive species slowly developing basic technology. Instead, they had been completely outmaneuvered by a civilization that had quietly surpassed their own capabilities. "So now we have one simple question for you," Han said, leaning forward, in his command chair. "Are you here as friends seeking allies, or are you still planning to treat us as primitives to be exploited?" Around the alien fleet, human vessels powered up their weapon systems. The energy readings were beyond anything Zixithera had ever seen, making her own flagship's armaments look like children's toys by comparison. "I'm waiting for an answer, Admiral," Han said calmly. "But I should mention that your ship's communication systems have been broadcasting everything that's happened here directly to your Supreme Admiral Thexelarin. He's watching this conversation in real time." The Admiral realized with growing horror that the hunters had become the hunted, and the prey they thought they had been stalking had been the predators all along. Fleet Admiral Shin Yu-jin stood at the center of the command bridge aboard the Storm's Heart, watching as space itself seemed to tear open around his massive flagship. The hyperspace jump had brought humanity's true armada to the edge of Devourer territory, and what emerged from those ripples in space-time would change the galaxy forever. 3,000 human vessels materialized in perfect formation, each ship a masterpiece of engineering that had been secretly developed over 50 years of hidden research. The smallest scout ships were larger than Confederation cruisers, while the massive battleships dwarfed anything in galactic records. These weren't the primitive chemical rockets the aliens had observed. These were weapons of war that bent the laws of physics to human will. "Admiral, all ships report ready for combat operations," announced Captain Lee Hyejin from her position at the tactical station. "Thunder protocol weapons are charged and targeting systems are locked onto Devourer formations." Yujin nodded, his eyes fixed on the holographic display, showing the mechanical swarms that had terrorized the galaxy for cycles. The Devourers were already responding to the human arrival, their construct ships shifting into attack formations that had proven unstoppable against every other species they had encountered. "They're adapting faster than expected," observed Dr. Oh Mi-kyung from her position aboard the science vessel, Hidden Dawn. Her voice came through the communication system as she monitored the Devourer response patterns. "The mechanical swarms are analyzing our ship configurations and adjusting their tactics in real time." The Devourers had consumed 12 star systems. By learning from every encounter, taking the best technology from each species they destroyed, and incorporating it into their ever-growing mechanical collective, they had faced desperate Confederation fleets, ancient warrior races, and advanced civilizations that had existed for thousands of years. All had fallen before their adaptive capabilities. But they had never faced humanity. "Dr. O, are your quantum disruptors ready?" Yujin asked, though he already knew the answer. Every weapon system, every tactical algorithm, every technological advantage had been tested and refined during humanity's decades of secret preparation. "All systems operational, Admiral," Dr. O replied from her laboratory ship. "The Devourers won't be able to adapt to technology they can't understand." Yujin raised his hand, and across 3,000 ships, human crews prepared for the battle that would determine the fate of the galaxy. In hidden facilities throughout the solar system, families watched through encrypted feeds as their sons and daughters prepared to face the greatest threat the universe had ever known. "All ships," Yujin announced, his voice carrying across the vast human fleet, "commence Thunder Protocol." The human armada struck like a force of nature unleashed. Weapons that manipulated space-time itself reached across impossible distances to tear Devourer constructs apart at the molecular level. Particle beams that existed in 11 dimensions simultaneously bypassed every shield and armor system the mechanical swarms had ever encountered. The Devourers tried to adapt, their collective intelligence working frantically to understand and counter the human assault. For cycles, they had succeeded by copying the technology of their victims and turning it against them. But human weapons operated on principles that the mechanical minds couldn't comprehend. Captain Park Ji-ho commanded the destroyer, Lightning Strike, as his ship danced through the Devourer formations, his weapons firing bursts of controlled antimatter that erased enemy constructs from existence. "Admiral, the enemy is attempting to analyze our weapon signatures, but their scanning attempts are being blocked by our quantum interference fields." Dr. O watched from her science vessel as her greatest creation went into action. The quantum disruptor technology she had developed could shut down any mechanical system by disrupting the fundamental forces that held matter together. As her weapons fired, Devourer hive nodes simply stopped functioning, their collective intelligence fragmenting into useless silence. "Hive Node 7 is down," she reported with satisfaction. "The mechanical swarms in Sector 12 have lost all coordination." Across 12 star systems, the tide of war reversed in a matter of hours. Human tactical algorithms, developed through centuries of warfare against human opponents, predicted every move the Devourers made before they made it. The mechanical swarms that had seemed unstoppable found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn. The Devourers had learned to fight against species that thought like organic beings, but humans fought with a combination of calculated logic and unpredictable creativity that no artificial intelligence could match. They used strategies that seemed impossible, attacked from directions that shouldn't exist, and employed weapons that operated outside the normal rules of physics. Commander Yun Sang-woo led a squadron of fighters in a coordinated assault on the primary Devourer control ship. "All fighters execute pattern Chaos 7, he ordered, leading his pilots in an attack formation that shifted randomly every few seconds, making it impossible for the mechanical minds to predict their movements. The last Devourer construct fell silent, its collective intelligence finally overwhelmed by human tactical superiority. Fleet Admiral Yu Jin received a transmission from the heart of Confederation space. Supreme Admiral Thexalaran appeared on the main screen, his scaled features showing a mixture of awe and humility that no Confederation officer had ever displayed before. "Humanity," he said, his voice carrying across the galaxy. "We formally request your guidance in rebuilding our defenses. We clearly have much to learn from you." The response came not from Yu Jin, but from Captain Han back in the Sol system, his words carrying the weight of human triumph. "The students are ready to become the teachers. Welcome to the new age." The galaxy had a new protector, and the shadows had finally given way to thunder.